situation in your life right now. This is what I want you thinking about. Many of us are really expecting to get something out of nothing. We're expecting to get vitality, vigor, energy, and activity out of things that we are speaking death to, out of things that we are not expecting a great thing from. And I want to kind of zero in a little bit on expectation, because I feel like many of us are not speaking life into our lives and in the life around us is because of the lack of expectation that many of us have. We don't expect good things to happen for us. We don't expect breakthrough to happen. For many of us in this society, in this culture, I know especially like a lot of people of color, you don't expect to get a break. You don't expect for good things to happen to you because a lot of the conditioning that you've seen, it tells you opposite things about people that look like you or behave like you or sound like you. So your expectations are very low. And when your expectations are low, you think on that level. When you think on that level, you speak on that level. And when you speak on that level, you create on that level. So sometimes what you're creating is a non-existence. Nothing is coming because you're not saying things that bring about the reaction that you want. So you may be in a situation, I talked a little bit about this earlier. You may have a child that is very difficult to deal with, and it's a toddler. I want to encourage you, don't continuously tell this child they're bad. Don't tell this child how hard it is to deal with them and how much they're such a burden to you. And oh, you just want to make mommy's day bad. How do you think I feel working all day and coming home and having to hear this bad news about you? I'm so guilty of doing this to my children. It's like you try to make them feel guilty for being who they are. But what you're really doing is you're speaking death. You're not speaking life. Because they internalize that and they take that and they say, I'm never going to be good enough, so why should I try? And so when we think about speaking life and we think about the power of the words that we speak, we have to understand that it's about the words that we speak over ourselves. It's about the words that we speak over our situations. If you have a family history of like diabetes or high blood pressure or any type of sickness, if all you ever talk about is how you don't want to get this because everybody in your family has it, you're speaking life to it. You're giving it more energy. You're thinking about it more. What does the universe do for you when you think about something? It attracts it because it all operates together. We're all a part of God's creation. So a lot of times we don't speak life because our expectations are so low. If you're expecting to get cancer because every woman in your family had cancer, you're 9 times out of 10 going to get it. And don't be surprised because you're thinking that. So you gave life to that. So thinking it internally is just as powerful as speaking it out. When you're speaking it out, you're reinforcing it. It's like an echo. It's like that remnant. It sticks around. It's there. It's not going anyplace. So you have to be clear on what are your foundational thoughts and expectations in certain areas of your life. Don't say you want a happy marriage, but all you do is think of all of the negative things that could happen in the marriage. Don't say you want to be healthy, but all you do is think about all of the sicknesses you could possibly get that would prevent you from being healthy. Don't say that you want to live in you want to live a certain way, but all you do is focus on all the reasons why you can't live that way. These are some of the things that are bringing about the non-existence of the breakthrough that we want in our lives. Many of us are getting things, it's just not what we want. Many of us we're getting feedback. We're getting attention from people. It's just not the type of attention we want. It's not the type of feedback that we want. But we don't want to own up to the fact that we are speaking these things into our lives because we're thinking these things into our lives. So if you're starting a new business venture or you're trying something new and the only thing you're concerned about is someone getting over on you, or you don't want anybody to stab you in the back per se, guess what? That's what's going to happen if that's all you're thinking about. So when we consider speaking life, and when I read that Genesis chapter 1 and how he said, let there be light, and there was light. Let there be this, and there was this. Let there be that, and it was. Because his expectation and his anticipation lined up with what he knew to be true. So many of us, we're saying one thing with our mouths and we're believing a different thing with our hearts, and our lives are a representation of that. So it's not that I'm in your business, but I know that you're not happy because it's clear that you're not happy, because you're telling me you want this and your life is clearly representing something else. And it really gets me how many people try to convince me how happy and content they are with their dysfunction and unhappiness. I'm like, really? Really? But we won't be honest about our expectations. We won't be honest about our fears and our doubts and our worries. We won't be honest and say, well, I really do want to be happy, but I'm afraid to let my guard down with him because every man I've ever been with has hurt me, and I am afraid to love again. I felt that in my spirit just now. But see, if your expectation is to get hurt, you're going to get hurt. And you're going to get hurt whether you protect yourself from every man or not. Hurt will find its way to you because that's all you're focusing on. So what can you focus on? We're going to talk about that in the next segment. When we come back at about 12:30, we're going to talk about some things that we need to focus on. But right now, we just need to be honest about what our expectations are in. Many of us expect the opposite of life, non-existence. We say that we want good things, but if you really get to talking to people, you hear things like, well, I wanted that, but we never been able to get it, or it never quite worked out that way, or, I tried that one time and you remember what happened, so I just said I'll leave well enough alone. But that burning desire is still on the inside, and then you develop a resentment with yourself and anything surrounding that if you never get it, if you never experience it. And on Monday, it was Make It Happen Monday, and we talked about what do you need to do to get your it. And a part of that was that awkwardness and be okay with things not making sense. And that's when I'm telling you, a lot of us are not living our life to the fullest, and we're not speaking life and thinking life because of our life experiences and what our expectations now. Many of us have been hurt so bad, so our expectations have been decreased. It's like you wanted the world, and now you're like, I'm just okay if I just get a good meal, I'll be fine. Jesus died that you may have life and life to the full. And that's one of the reasons why I'm on this show, because I want you to have life to the full. I want life to the full. There are so many things that I'm still working through and working on, but you know what? That's not going to stop me from getting up here and getting on here and sharing whatever